and that may have been cut. I don't know. Once we're live, I will check the audio again. There's a little bit of a delay between what you see and what I see, which is why I'm perfect. Perfect. Although, what was I don't know. Please let me know how the sound settings are going. I am going to probably need to do a little bit of troubleshooting in today's stream just because, I am streaming from my new computer, which I have not done before. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm going to move you over there. Move you over there. Okay, so then I think I have things set up. It's a bigger screen, but also my eyes feel like I've got like a veil over them today. So I think it's time to get my eyes checked and potentially get glasses again. I've had glasses on and off, but they don't often do enough that like it's worth me wearing them. Just because like sometimes it helps with reading, but today I am just struggling to focus my eyes a little bit. So yeah, you can hear me just fine. Awesome, because the mic is over there by the stove, and I don't remember what settings I had on my other computer, so there might be some directional limited, so I might be a lot softer when I'm sitting down and then louder when I'm over at the stove, but we'll see, and we will figure it out. Good morning, everyone. I know it's early in the morning, but yeah. So I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and welcome finally to the December-January ChemKnits Dialogue live stream. In these streams every month or two, I pick a new inspiration photo and then use it to dye some yarn, which I typically do in the form of a live stream. And then I also challenge you at home to dye yarn inspired by this same photo. And I will include some of your pictures in the recap, which typically comes out in, I guess the recap for this stream will probably come out in mid-February, end of February, just to give people time to submit their photos. And so the way you can submit photos is by sharing what you've dyed on Instagram using the hashtag ChemKnitsDialogue, or you can share it when you see that photo up there, the inspiration sparkler photo. You can share that on the ChemKnits Facebook page and reply with a photo comment on there, and then I will use that. Now, if you share pictures inside my Facebook group, ChemKnits Lab, there everything is kept private by default, by group rules. We don't share anything in the group, but occasionally, you know, yeah, so I don't check there for photos to feature. So, but the Instagram and Facebook are the two ways to submit pictures as of right now. Hello. Yes, I am very excited to see what I come up with too. Although actually, I want to make sure that the preview, and I'm on live on the preview. Wait, where's the button? Oh, am I actually live? Well, no, I know I'm live, but so the way that the streams work is that you can have it's sort of like a DVR, so someone can joins late, can go back to the beginning and watch the intro. And so sometimes I wanted to just make sure that on my preview, I was watching what was happening now. And my mouse is on the floor because I have my computer on a chair. And with the big laptop, I find that the trackpad is so big that it's hard to use. So today, well, there's a lot of things that we've done differently. The first was that it's a combination December and January inspiration photo, and part of that was I was really, really tired at the end of December and realized that I didn't really have a good time to go live in between the Hanukkah special and then just taking a bit of a break. There wasn't really time, and so I decided, okay, I'm going to give myself a pass and do a combo December, January. And I've mentioned in a few other streams that January has been a really, really hard month for me. So I don't know how long the stream will be today. Typically, I try to have these dialogue streams be nice and long, and I don't know. We'll see. I've sort of structured things so that way if I'm not feeling myself, then it doesn't have to be long, but I can always extend it if I am up for it. But I actually have I filmed like a more cathartic, emotional sharing and talking about everything that, and I've mentioned before, but I just, okay, I'm gonna put that aside, but if you haven't seen, I'm talking about it in those unboxings recently. Maybe I will do an unboxing while we wait at some point, if we have waiting steps. So remind me, I have a box to open with something really unique and unusual that I'm excited for. All right, but let's talk about today. So with this sparkler image, it really, I saw it and I was like, ooh, this is another way for me to play with that candlelight for Hanukkah. I think it was night 6. Oh shoot, let me grab it. I even prepared. Except I didn't. And I'm also going to get myself some water. Okay. Aha. I ran out of tea. Okay. So this yarn. This yarn that I did to evoke candlelight. And with this one, the speckled portion was just fluorescent safety orange, and then the darkness, which is a very cool, almost black, but not quite black. It was 2-to-1 Dharma Blued Steel and Dharma True Black acid dyes. So I'm not going to do a dupe for this. Technique-wise, what I'm doing is similar, but I'm going to pick different colors for the darkness. And I actually, I actually made a little video. So we're going to try something new. I have a little video to play, which doesn't have any audio, so I'm going to talk over it. But to talk about the part 1 that I did. And so I'm going to bring my inspiration photo over there. Good morning. So I did film what I did for part 1. Let me make myself tinier. Okay. So I filmed, wait, how do I get this to play? Oh, there it is, okay. Okay, so I filmed part 1 off live stream. So it was still on camera, and I will still include it almost like a standard Dye Pot Weekly video in the Dye Along recap. So the recap this month will be longer. So I filmed my discussion of the colors and how I dyed the stuff that I'm going to show you now. And so, I mean, this is pretty much just a still for me to say that for part 1, the colors I focused on were True Turquoise, Fluorescent Safety Orange, and Purple Pop. Because those are the 3 colors for the sparks that we have. Excuse me. Right there. And actually the swatch colors, so I like to take I get a Dharma trading poster and I cut the little swatch colors off and I tape them to the top of the jars. That makes it really easy to find them inside my bins. Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay, yeah, so those were the 3 colors that I picked for the light. And then for the darkness, I debated a bit, but ultimately I have, that I just mixed up this morning, some approximate 1% stock solutions of Dharma Dark Navy, Dharma True Black, and Dharma Teal Green acid dyes. Now, when I was doing all of this, I was wearing a respirator mask with P100 filters, safety glasses, and gloves. But for the stream, everything is in solution, and so we are good to go. And because I guess I'm talking about part 2, but what we're going to do today. But these stock solutions, I weighed out approximately 5 grams. Maybe it was like 5.06 approximately 5 grams of each of the colors, and I dissolve them separately in approximately 500 milliliters of water. It's probably, it is between probably 450 and 650. So that is all approximate. And now, okay, I'll actually play the video and it'll go to white, which will remind me that I'm going to start in the next spot. Aha, okay, so now, and I can move that image. Okay, so for part one, I did the speckling by mixing the dyes in with some citric acid. So I started with 1 tablespoon of citric acid, and then with the fluorescent safety orange, I took a good chunk of dye. But with the purple and blue, I didn't want quite as much, so I took a lot less, and I mixed this in with that citric acid powder so that way I can do the speckles. Now, I am curious. If you guys can let me know in the chat how, like, actually, oh wait, I can see on the preview. This is working! Whoops, that was loud. This is working. Okay, so with the purple pop, maybe a little bit more than the true turquoise, because I didn't, even though in the inspiration photo, I'll just go to the, oh, what is that saying? Okay, I was gonna set up. Even though in the inspiration photo, there's probably more blue and pink than the orange, I really wanted to focus on that bright celebration, hope, new year, new everything that we're hoping for. So I mix those up. And then for the first one, that I will dye again today, but the first one I did heavy with the orange. And then I tapped, this is very, very similar to what I did for Hanukkah, but then I added the blue and the purple pop sort of all over. And then realized I liked sort of just touching the edges and having that smears. Oh, cool. This is a whole new way of doing things. I'll show what this one looks like, but ultimately I think that I did not like having them, oh, there we go, there's the close-up. So it's beautiful. It is beautiful, these colors layered together. And actually, when I took all the spoons from mixing them all together and put them in a jar, it gave us this beautiful teal that I thought was really awesome. But I liked it, but zoomed in, I really liked it. Pulled back, it sort of dampened the brightness of the flame a little bit, because since orange and blue are opposite ends of the color wheel, having it all together visually just made it feel a little more muted, which is not really what I wanted. So I decided to do something else, but I wanted to show that close up and then, okay, so I decided to do this again with focusing on the orange in the center, and I did add a hint of some of the purple over the middle and maybe a tiny bit of blue in there, but then really just kind of color blocked it a little more, which isn't the random pops that we have in this video. And I probably could have gotten more random pops if I had done something a lot more like what I did in the Hanukkah celebration video, where I had the 2 ends painted. But, oh, and so then I steamed it for 20 minutes. Yeah, I think that if I had gone through and sort of like color blocked where I was putting it without citric acid, then maybe I could have integrated them more together, but I really wanted that flame. So I'm glad that this is working because I will say that I spent many hours doing all this because I did a fair number of them. So, but then I did 4 more. I'm not showing it all now, but I'll show it all in the video recap where I did, so the first batch I had a larger section of orange and then I did some with a shorter section of orange just to have it there. And I do have off to the side a yarn mop that I will show you in a moment. But I'm so glad that this is coming through and it doesn't, at least on my end, doesn't look like it's skipping. I wasn't sure, and so maybe next time or some other time in the future I'll try doing this with some audio. But so that was our video. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to hide. I wanted to hide the video. It's nice that it disappeared, or it made it disappear as soon as it was done. But I mean, I don't know. I just very quickly and crudely edited it this morning. Very crudely. And so before I check the chat, this is just a moment for me, and I'm going to make myself bigger, for me to say that if you are excited and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos or live streams. I tried to schedule this one in advance, but lately I've been leaving streams less scheduled just because if I'm up for it, then I want to go for it. And so if you have your notifications on, then YouTube will let you know when I'm about to go live or when I do go live, so then you won't miss it. I'm so glad the video worked. I'm so glad it worked. So that it was fun, and ooh, I'm like thinking about like I could do some other stuff with that, but I know that I figured that my computer now, my wonderful technically gaming laptop, so it can handle video stuff well. I figured, excuse me, that could handle it, and so that was good. Oh yes, and please hit the like button. And as for, there's places you can find me in the video description. I have a Patreon, I have an Etsy shop. There might be something fun coming soon on Etsy. A little fun thing that I'm going to release soon, so stay tuned. And I'd probably do, I don't think I'd necessarily do a live stream unless I have something else that comes to inbox, but I will do a, maybe I'll do a community post. And I do have like very limited stuff on Zazzle, but it's like, I don't know, wait for like a 60% off Zazzle coupon or something, but this is just my Broken Violet TNA that I turned into a mug, and so mainly I made this stuff because I wanted it. You have notifications on, but you didn't get notifications. So there's a few ways. So some of it might be on your YouTube settings, because whether you want like a push notification or email notification, I think that those are things that really, really depend on your settings. But also YouTube does not notify everyone all the time. And that's not something that I can control. Like, I have no ability to send notifications out myself. It's all algorithm based. But when you turn on notifications, you can do like, there's two kinds. There's one that you can do request all, and then one that you can request like, I forget what they call it, that will give it like, if YouTube thinks it's interesting to you, then they'll give it to you. yeah. Well, yeah, no, things were hit and miss, and like I tried. So, okay, I'll get to the dyeing in a second. But I looked into Teespring because I can integrate that with YouTube, but I didn't like the quality of the samples that I got, which was unfortunate. And so then I never released it. And actually, I probably have money sitting in that account, because also when I set it up, I couldn't buy things at the, like, without the commission that I would get. It was just all set up very poorly. Or, I mean, poorly for me. And so I liked some of the stuff, like with some of the mugs on the Zazzle, because they were bigger. I liked that better. And I liked, yeah, so, and I didn't like the way that the bags and stuff on Teespring were. Oh, that's too bad. So I got notified with the algorithm. Let's see if I still have the notification. You see, it said that I'm going live. Mainly because I learned, okay, I'm gonna hide my face and stand up, but I learned that, oh, no, I don't know what I just moved. I learned that I have no idea what I was saying. So I completely lost my train of thought. I learned that on YouTube, if like I was watching like nonsense, or the kids were watching something on my phone, that it was really easy to accidentally add something to a playlist, which is unfortunate if you think about it, because yes, but anyway, okay, so this skein right here was a Leave No Dye Behind skein that I will share in the video. So this is that first one that I dyed, which actually today is still looking pretty bright, but I will compare it with the others. I'm just moving everything around. The yarn mop, which is smelling nice and yarny, I'll bring it over. So the yarn mop, all right, I need to raise this so I can see. Okay, so the yarn mop is actually fairly bright with all those colors layered together. I did steam set it in the middle. I did this before with a Leave No Dye Behind. Maybe it was for Hanukkah. And what's nice about steaming in the middle is that instead of continuing to blend the colors together as I rub the counter or wipe my hands on it, then you can actually layer them more, which gives more depth and dimension to it. And so I am very excited about that. And I think this is Swish DK, and that is Stroll. And I should have affiliate links somewhere. Okay, and all right, so here are the skeins. Which, oh my gosh, this is heavy. How many did I do? I guess I have 9, because that's what I did for the ChemKnits dye-along. Okay, so as I'm here, let's transfer the zip tie down. But so this is the first one that I did, and how are the colors? Mediocre. Wow, the resolution, like, I had trouble, and I need to see what I need to do to import. I can't, I'm too far away. I need to play with the camera settings a little bit more to see what I need to bring in to really get things sharper and get the colors better. Which unfortunately might mean that I need to get a new webcam. So I am going to place a zip tie here. And this isn't as much to use it as a resist as it is to give myself I want to bring the darkness up to about that line. So it is more of just a marker for myself. And all of this has been steam set already. And okay, now in contrast, here is one of those brights that I did. And here is its partner. So these are some of the ones that I did more towards the end. And where I had more, or I guess a shorter orange section. Oh, that looks pretty good. Thank you. I'm glad you guys think it's really pretty. The nice thing about adding the darkness is later on, or that plan, is that and I'm going to put this in the middle of this blue section. But the nice thing about the plan that I have for the dyeing today, and there are going to be absolutely differences between skeins, but we're going for approximate, is that when I steam set it, I didn't care if there was color transfer. So you can see that there's some specks of pink and blue over on the white. So that was not a problem. The other nice thing about adding these zip ties across the skeins that I'm doing right now is that, it'll help me prevent tangles later on. In that when I have a lot of yarn here in the pan, when I then like swirl it around, there will be a really, really defined point to separate the skeins from each other, beyond just this one zip tie that I have here. And so these ones look like they're going to be even shorter. I do have a link to the reusable nylon zip ties I like to use down in the video description as well. The one thing I would caution with that is that Amazon has in the past changed, or whoever's listed it on Amazon has changed what was available. And so they, maybe because it's a popular listing, they had it so that there were, it wasn't just zip ties, or it wasn't reusable zip ties at one point. So just make sure that the description says they're reusable. The ones I linked to are actually the ones that I have purchased. It's just I don't have any control over Amazon shifting the listings. The water that I'm going to use, and I don't remember how many tablespoons of vinegar were in it. I'm planning on using some water from the pre-soak. There is definitely, unequivocally, so this is kind of fun because you can see the differences of all of these. Pardon me. Why am I not remembering what I was saying? Okay, yes, there's some vinegar in the water that I'm going to add. There's obviously vinegar in these skeins as well because they pre-soak them with vinegar. So that is the way things are. But you can see that these are longer. And the reason why I decided to shorten the orange more towards the end was that if you look at the length of the whole skein, I guess here the colored section is a third. I guess it just depends on how much, oh, this just is so pretty, how much you want, wow, I keep losing my words. It depends on what balance you want of your bright and dark, depending on what you're going to knit with it. Is it possible to steam them in a plug-in electric vegetable steamer? I would imagine so, but since I'm using dedicated dyes, if you have an electric vegetable steamer that you're willing to turn into a dedicated dye pot, then yeah, I would be comfortable with that. But I wouldn't then use it for vegetables after the fact. But anything that creates steam, and these ones, it's so funny to see like when I did a lot more blue and when I did less blue. That's fun. Okay, I need two more zip ties. But yes, you could use an electric vegetable steamer. Just my cautions are that you want to make sure it's dedicated for food. But what I end up using the most myself is just on my gas stove, a steamer basket. And so some of this color down at the other end that you can barely see on camera, but some of it may show through the darkness, and I am fine with that. But now let's just, even though this is not the way I'm going to be dyeing it, I want to just, it's pretty, layer it all on. And there are going to be differences, which hopefully you saw already, just between all of these skeins. I think we have 9 total. Although, sorry, first one, I actually want you to be more hidden. So I want to take a picture. see. I have a phone somewhere. Oh dear. Aha, found it. Yeah, so I definitely, it's weird to take a picture from that angle. I usually take pictures from this angle. And there we go. Trying to get better light. Okay, so now what I need to do is get my other steam pan. Because last time I really worried about like things burning as touching the back. Okay, you can't really see. There's the back edge of the pan, and maybe I can zoom you all out a bit. Let's see. Where are you? Video capture. Control zoom. I want to make sure that I can see. Window, where are you? Here we go. Zoom. Zoom out. There we go. Thank you. I'm really glad that you guys like them. Okay, so here, this back edge, when I heat up the pan, I was afraid that this would get hot. So I actually have my second steamer basket right back here. And what I'm going to do, now that like I laid everything out, and then now I'm going to come and move everything again, is arrange things like so. I'll keep that right there. So I can move the yarn as needed, but actually let's do you guys one at a time, so that way I can really have it somewhat laid out and scrunched up, versus, so what I don't want is for the yarn to be like that, because then the yarn at the bottom, rather than giving some like tonal and ebbs and flow throughout, that'll mean that this gets more access than the bottom. So I am bringing things in and sort of scrunching it this way. Yeah, that's the way I'm doing it. And things earlier, I had them with their sort of buddies or pairs. Things are no longer buddied up. I mean, they might be, but it's a little more random. And I know that I think I can do 900 grams in here, because I did that once before. As I scooch things over, and I'm going to try to zoom you out a little more, I think. Actually, let's put you in last. And you know, if some darkness gets up on that section, it'll be okay. I don't know if I could have fit much more than 900 grams in here. Now, slowly, or less slowly, this will fill up. I want to get a photo of it. Where is, I swear. I swear I would lose my head if it weren't attached to my body. So let me see. Cool. Okay. got some pictures, and now I'm going to tilt you a tiny bit up so you can see. Actually, maybe I can do video capture settings. So what I don't understand is why the video didn't do widescreen. So at one point I had one in and then it input like itself square, which was annoying. Okay, now you can see the whole pan with everything sticking out. Thank you. Okay, I am, let's see. Okay, so we've got 3 colors, and I'm gonna sit back down and not on the steamer basket that I just placed behind my bum. Let's move everything around. And I'm gonna come back and turn on my face. I have to figure out how to get OBS to like the source and like where the control area is a lot smaller than I'm used to. Today I find that like the preview is bigger and I can't, oh dear. And I can't shrink that more, which is a bit of a bummer. So I'll have to figure out how to do that. But I've got 3 colors next. I have, oh no, that's not the one I want to use. I am like not used to this mouse. Should be using the one that I have on the floor. Okay, but for the backdrop, I want some navy in there because I don't just want black. And some teal. I need to think, I definitely want to add some water to the pan first. I want to add some water because right now there's acid in there, so whatever I add will to some extent start striking. But I do think I want to add a lot of color while it's still cool before it's hot, just to slow down some absorption. And what I'm deciding now is because I want to add acid for sure. Absolutely want to add acid in there, but I also want to dilute the dye stocks that I've made, which again were teal, dark navy, and true black. And I want to dilute it because ultimately when it comes to dyeing yarn, it's not the volume of liquid that you add necessarily. It doesn't matter how much water you put in with the dye. What matters is the total amount of dye that you add. So if I were to mix 5 grams of dye, mix it in like a tablespoon of water, which I don't think that would really work, and then add it, I would end up with a really dark area in one spot. But if I take that same gram of dye and dissolve it in 500 milliliters of water, and then add that, the dye, since it's more dilute, can spread out more and access more fiber. And so even if I go up and get to gallons and gallons and gallons, eventually it'll all absorb to the yarn, but by having more water, you can spread it more easily than if you add things with less water. So that's where water comes into play. The only time that measuring the liquid really makes a difference is if you're starting with a dye stock, and so therefore the amount of liquid from the stock you're measuring is directly proportional to the amount of dye you're going to add. But it doesn't matter once you've measured out your dye how much liquid you use. And I don't know I'm going to use all the dye that I mixed, so we might have some left over. So I'm going to put water in. Yes, so I will put some water in the pan in the back. I don't know if, oh no, that's not what I had selected. Video capture. So yeah, you can see I have a pan up there. I will eventually put a little water in it just so that way if it gets hot, not so much so it steams it more, but just so that way it doesn't burn. Because if you think about it, like if it gets as hot as a pan, I will be moving and just making sure that that is nice and wet. And I feel like I'm going to sneeze. But so now that I said so, maybe I won't. Sorry. Excuse me. I was like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? But yeah, so my plan, I'm not going to worry about the placement of the colors. And if I don't hit like a teal, if things get a lot darker, I'm not going to be sad about that either. So I think what I want to do is add a bit of liquid so we're low immersion, and then start mixing my pre-soak, which was in a 5-gallon bucket, start mixing that with some of the dyes. So I'm still adding that acid that I want to add, but a lot of volume is coming from where I'm adding the dyes. So I think that that's my plan. At least I think. So, although I keep changing my mind. Maybe we'll start with some dye. Maybe we'll start with dye. Yeah. This is what's fun with the dye along, is a lot of times this debate that I'm doing right now happens off camera, like in my head. And so then you guys get to see me play around with it. Would it work to cover the ends in plastic wrap to keep, if they were wet, to keep them wet? That might. Like, I don't think that it's necessary. I think that I was pretty paranoid just about keeping things damp. Depending on the temperature that I have here, or like how big, like if I have the heat on high, then the edges get really warm. If I don't, then the edges of the pan don't get hot. So that's really the concern that I have. But also occasionally, and I don't know what does it, occasionally color does wick over, and so I don't understand when or why that happens. So let's see. I've got a lot of liquid here. It's like a 5-gallon bucket that is a third of the way full still. Let's take about a liter. Actually, I can see because I'm in a graduated cylinder. I have got, okay, I've got about 750 milliliters. And let's take some of the teal. So I've added maybe about 100 milliliters of the teal in here, not because the measuring itself is important, but the measuring itself isn't what's so important to me here, but I just wanted to keep track. And we will be able to look and see. I don't care how these colors blend because I will be adding them all on top of each other. But I'm, of course, now here I am pressing. But there's definitely lightness down at the bottom. It's not penetrating all the way through. And some of it is going to start striking. But in some areas with more volume, it might go all the way down. So I think that this is probably the way to go. And I'm going to layer colors this way. Now there is so much yarn here that the colors that I'm adding right now aren't necessarily going to spread very much. And I say that the reason why they're not going to spread out a ton is just there's no space for it to right now. Let's come in with some navy. So I've added approximately, and everything is all approximate. I'm not even really stirring once I add the dye into the container. But I've added approximately 1 gram of teal, and I'm coming in with approximately 1 gram. I'm trying to focus more on the middle of navy, and I am layering it on top. Things will probably blend a bit, but there is acid in here already. So, and because things are so scrunched up, we will have some differences. But let's see. Let's do... Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how much of the teal we will cover up. Certainly, we are getting more liquid in here as time goes on. But you can see that if I press, what is being pressed over is a lot lighter because some of the color is just starting to strike already. But we do still have some teal down there. Let's see. Let's add some black. So I'm not stressing about the amount of dye. Eventually, the fibers in here will start to float a little bit. Okay, for the black, oh dear. And so this is different to what I did the last time. There will be some variation just from how these colors interact with one another. But there's also just going to be some variation because of how the yarn is in here. And so the black is just here to deepen a lot of stuff. And the problem that I'm going to run into today, as I try not to make a mess. Did I drip on the floor? I don't think so. But what's that? I don't know. Oh, I dripped on the counter. That's why the counter is protected. What I don't, I'm going to turn on the heat now because there's enough. Just onto medium. What did I smell? Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, we don't know quite what's happening beneath the yarn, and we might end up picking up the skeins and rearranging them in here at some point. And certainly, there are areas that are coming up to these zip ties that don't really have much, if any, color yet. And they will eventually. But if I move things aside, there are some light patches down there. I don't want to move it a ton yet. I want to give some chance, but I am working things through a little bit. So there is, I guess it's not quite 900 grams here in the pan. We've got 900 grams of yarn. Oh, there's the drip. We've got 900 grams of yarn total, and all the yarn is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So there's 900 grams of yarn total here, but it's not all in the pan. And so my heat is on medium, and I want to bring in, which I mentioned, some water into the back pan, just to keep things coolish. And I'm actually pouring some water over this yarn just to keep things nice and saturated in case that edge heats up. And another thing I can do is actually push this, oops, push this back a tiny bit. But I will check, and I'm going to reduce even lower because I heard a little pop. And yeah, but let's set a timer just for 6 minutes. What is going on? Something's being a little noisy. Okay, they're fine. I have it on like a lower setting. which means that the heat is a little more here and here versus all over. And you guys have a beautiful dark screen right now. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Here's phone. I'm going to try to take a picture and post on Instagram so you can see that there is. So if I pull back, it's hard to see, but I'll go post on my Instagram stories right now. I'm just at ChemKnits on Instagram. Let's see. Let me add to my story, which of course will take me. I feel like a phone is the next thing I'm going to need to upgrade. So I can still see that teal. Okay, let me see. And let me do a more pulled back that includes like the bright. I don't want a filter. There we go. So I'm just at ChemKnits on Instagram, and I can turn my face back up. I'm sitting down, and I set a timer. Yeah, I set a timer. Let me see. I'm excited to see how this ends up too. So it is 9 skeins, I believe, because I did 1 test, and then I did 4 sets of 2, so I think it's 9. I probably could fit 1 more in there, but I remember when I originally did it, I was like, man, how am I going to set this up? Am I going to dip dye like into a kettle? How am I going to fit all these in around like, well, actually, because here's my kettle. How I could fit 900 grams around, but it would be harder to control the placement and stir and see what's going on in the pot. And this works pretty well. Yes, please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Yeah, so if you go to Instagram, and I'm not set up enough to then take the picture and have it on the computer so then I can show the photo here. Oh, that would be cool if I could do that. If anyone has a good recommendation for a webcam that is good with color, please let me know, because I think that the one problem with my webcam is that a lot of people who stream probably use the camera on themselves, and maybe it would be fine for that, but isn't as useful for me dyeing. So yeah, if anyone has a good recommendation for like a webcam for demonstrations and stuff, I would love a recommendation. You're closing your eyes now. Oh, bless you for staying up so late to tune in. Thank you for coming, and have a good night, Shauna. The teal is most noticeable, but you see hints of yellow and reddish purple. Ooh, yeah. I mean, the problem that I always have with the webcam is the white balance, and as I said, in the most unladylike way. But the other problem I have is where my stove is located, and that I used to have a light source right above it that it's not burnt out, so I can't replace the bulb. It just occasionally turns on, which is the most unhelpful thing for an overstove light. And so that also just then limits the light that it can get. And so I find that the colors do come out better in the daytime when there is natural light in the kitchen than at nighttime when I struggle to. So on my camera that I film on, and white balance isn't something I pay a ton of attention to a lot of times, but if I feel like the color isn't coming through, then I can go and say, okay, bump up the reds or reduce just the yellow to try to like manually shift that balance for the colors to come in. And I can't, a lot of times, like I can shift the hue, but I'm not very skilled with just that. And it's like, well, no, it's not that. I just need to bump up reds. And so I don't have in this in the software that I'm using, the ability to manually shift the colors until what I see is right, like I would if I was editing a photo. So I hope that that makes sense. But yeah, I have not yet picked a photo for February. I have like a list. I have a secret Pinterest board, which I mean I'm not going to share because it's secret, of other things that I'm inspired by, color-wise. But yeah, if anyone has any suggestions of themes of things I should be looking for, let me know. Would a ring light for the yarn help? Maybe, actually. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. Okay, hide my face. Ooh. And then grumble like an old lady as I stand up. Okay, I still see that teal. I feel like I probably see a little bit down there, but let's squish things. Now, as a warning, don't touch hot pans. But I know I can like tell visually when, and see, look, there's still some color in there, but a lot of the color has absorbed, and we have a lot of whites left. So I think I've been debating this with myself. I think I want to flip everything. Let me dry my hand though, because I don't want to introduce color to the area up top, but ooh, that's pretty. But this, and I'm gonna wiggle things out more in a little bit. It'll take the guesswork out of it a little bit for me. I mean, we will eventually be adding just a lot of dye, but I don't want the yarn to feel this unbalanced. But a lot of colors can start striking while the yarn is cool. And this also is, by flipping and moving, is going to make things a little more random, a little less repeating, which, as you know, is something that I personally love. But yeah, things are not very hot at all yet. Layering the colors this way is really fun, really fun. But you can see that there's just like a huge variety in the amount of pigment that we do and do not have in various sections. So like the two skeins over at our two ends definitely got the most color. And now we're gonna like shimmy this down. But there is not, if I press now, almost all of that color has absorbed into the yarn already. So let me see on the monitor what y'all see. Yeah, so the greens aren't really coming through. I'm surprised how much white is left. Yes, because don't forget, when I started adding the color, like right now there's some liquid in here. The yarn is really squished together. There's not a lot of liquid in it. And so therefore there's just not space for there is vinegar in here. I'm just taking water from my pre-soak. And this time, I'm bringing in some teal and navy, crudely mixed together. And by that I mean I just poured it. Okay, and that looks very navy. So that means I'll just come in with teal in a moment. Oh dear. And so now as I add colors, you can see it is spreading further because it has that space too. And so there's probably I guess not going to be a ton of teal left overall, but you can see there's still going to be, so I add that more there. I'm attempting to work the color through a little more. There will be some hue differences, but it's going to be mostly sort of navy and blackish with maybe some teal hints, and maybe that might be more what I add over there. But I will come in with just some teal, and then as I'm deciding, we can do black too. Actually, this time the volume of water is less. I am close to using up what's in the pot. I'm going to add, oh dear, a little bit of black. And then a lot more of the teal green. And I'm going to double check, I know this is off camera, the color. That is giving us a very nice, it's still very teal leaning, but it is dark. And so that is nice. And we will probably move the yarn again. I will probably move the yarn again. So right now, I don't visually see as much variation because now there's more. There's definitely going to still be there because the pot is still crowded, even though we've got more and more and more liquid coming in. But like if I move that, you can see that there are lighter patches. So to get this all over with some dark, we're going to have to play. That's another reason, because when I press down, you can still see color. That's another reason why I'm letting myself press and move this, and I'm not waiting quite as much, because that, by moving the yarn around, this will help. Aha! See, that amount of dye left isn't that much, but it'll help us help the colors access more of the yarn. And the heat is still on fairly low, but actually, I'm debating just turning it off. Yeah, okay, I'll turn it a little back up to medium. There's still areas that I want to cover more, but just, I don't know if you can see, there's still some brighter teal spots. There's definitely, yeah, the moving it was not hard. It's not that hot yet. But we are getting to what I want. And then, of course, I still want to dip in these edges. So I haven't even gone all the way up to where I want to go color-wise. But there's a huge part of this that's making it up as I go along, just being honest. And as for the amount of dye I've used, just crudely estimating, I think I've used maybe 2.5 grams of teal, 2.5 grams of navy, and maybe 1 gram of black. But it's mostly been the teal and the navy so far. So I am going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and we'll keep an eye on that heat level. And I will come and check the edge of the pan is not heating up, which is good, I know, so to you guys, I think it just looks like a navy, just blob. Let me see. So a custom white balance, so it's not just the white balance. I can customize the white balance in terms of just the temperature, but at least not that I've found yet, through the software, when I go through to like manage camera settings, there isn't, I can change the temperature, but I can't then manually like shift the different levels that I found, because that would have been very, very helpful at times. So that could just be a issue with the software that I'm using though. You like the super squished batch with one pour of dark saturated color scoops. Yes, the super squished batch with just the pour of colors does give really, really cool results. You know, I haven't, maybe I've tried 400 grams of yarn in a pan, but in general, like I get frustrated even with 300 grams just because I find that I have to do so many flips to get the colors the way I want. And I think technique-wise, what I've done more recently is starting with no acid, adding the colors. Yes, they might blend a bit in areas, but starting with no water, no acid, and then adding the acid after I've added the color really helps with that penetration without having to flip as much. So it's funny. There's some things that as a mostly small batch, well, okay, my big batches are like 10. So as a small batch dyer, there are things that I can do that might be more time intensive. But if I was going to dye like hundreds and hundreds of skeins in a day, I would have to shift things, because there's only, you know, you can't spend an hour on a batch of 4 and you need to get through hundreds in a day. Yeah, I'm exploring ways to be more efficient, if that makes sense. But I also enjoy just the slow exploration. And let me see. I'm clearly having trouble reading comments today. This is beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I'm really glad you like it. And I think that it would be really easy to shift with brights that aren't fluorescent. And oh, I have new black light bulbs, which I haven't tried out. I definitely have more of the like clip light holders that I used before with the one that went missing. Watch, I'll find my old black light bulb when I go track that down. But I will, the true turquoise isn't fluorescent, but the other two are. So we'll look at that. And I know that one of you did that on Instagram, which was awesome, which of course I think I saved but never shared. But also check out this one under a black light for the recap. That's my plan. That's my plan. Watch, I'll lose. I mean, the light bulbs were right there. They're here. I don't think they've gone missing. So many inch away. Okay. You would love that fade from dark blue to white that I had in place. Yeah. So can you add warmth and take away warmth? Sort of by, so what I was finding is that the heat in there was uneven for sure, which does make some difference, but I've found in some videos that are coming up, it's not that big of a difference, the uneven heat. What makes a bigger difference for evenness and less evenness of color is the acid content, I think. Not that I've tried a lot of asymmetric acid type experiments yet, but just from, I think it makes a bigger difference with the penetration of color you can get in the yarn. Having it cold can help, but if there's already acid in there, the colors will start striking. So some combination of cool and low or no acid really help. Thanks, Julia. I do a better job, well, except sometimes I just decide I don't care. I do a better job, or I make more of an effort at least, with the DSLR, especially in the conclusions. That's where I really try to match the heat. I don't worry about the background. I try to get photographs that are as accurate for the way the yarn looks. And I used to spend a lot more time on it, and then I try to get it so it looks like on the monitor, like close to what I see. But yeah, the streaming camera is the one that I struggle with more. Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad you've learned some. So Gemma says, I'm soon going to be dyeing a jumper worth of yarn and you're nervous. Yes. So what I would recommend, and I don't know what technique you want to do for your sweater's worth, But I would mix up, so say that I wanted to dye 10 skeins, all in a similar colorway. I would measure out the total amount of dye I want in one batch and then divide that into thirds. So that way, it is, and I would divide it at the beginning, so that way in case some dye settles or something like that, you don't end up with something that's a lot darker. Now, if you want to fade or something, then I mean, you can go from there. But that's the way that I would start. But as you saw, when I dyed 3 skeins in a layered colorway, I did end up with some differences for my moving forward wrap. Now, I didn't mind. If I wanted to be even more controlled, I probably would have done, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how I would have done it more controlled. But there is going to be some variations skein to skein with hand dye yarn. And I keep seeing like a blink from the integrated camera, and I'm not sure what that's about. Still figuring out streaming settings and whatnot. So, yeah. But Julia, your photographs are always beautiful that you take of your yarn. You're hearing aggressive bubbling. It's steaming. I reduced it once, but I'm like totally reading these out of order. Thank you, Beth. Yeah, okay, so we were talking about heat. Yes, once this, it was still fairly cool in there, which was why I considered turning off the heat and waiting. I mean, there's a video that hasn't been edited yet, but a lot, like with Cool That stuff with the right amount of vinegar, a lot of color can strike the yarn so fast without any heat if you have acid in there. And so that's why I was like, well, if the color has all struck with just that tiny amount of heat and the acid that I have present, maybe I should turn off the heat and just do the next few bits cool. But I decided to just go with the heat and I can move. So that's what I was thinking. But I think right now, actually, I'm going to take a short break. And so you may or may not see an ad, but then I'll come back and we will move the yarn and add more dye. So I'm going to hide my face. I'm going to mute myself, and I will be back. I wanted to hum the Jurassic Park theme, but I don't want to be copyright claimed. Because what happens when, you guys don't know, what happens when you do that, you get, Like if you use copyrighted music, and oh, I need to clean that. If you do that, then it doesn't take your video down, but they get all the revenue. And they can do that from 5 seconds or like 1 second of audio. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to clean. I know I just came back, but I need to clean my floor. Oh, that's not dye. That's a knot in the wood. Okay. I was like, oh dear. Trying to not get in trouble. So, okay, wait, let's see. How would you make a stock solution? Oh, how do you make a stock solution with Wilton dyes? So I have a Math of Yarn Dye and Food Coloring edition. And so I don't make a stock and store it with food coloring like I would with acid dyes. I tend to mix those fresh. With the Wilton's icing colors that are gel, what I would do is record the volume you're doing. So if I was going to do 1 teaspoon of Wilton's icing color in 4 cups of water and call that my stock, then that's what I would do, and I did my calculations off of that. But in general, I tend to mix fresh. One big reason why I bother with stock solutions with acid dyes is that then they're not in powder form, so I don't need to put on the respirator. Now, some dyers might choose to wear the respirators whenever they're dyeing urine. Personally, I only wear it when I'm dealing with powders. So you can certainly make a stock solution with Wilton. The one caveat that I have is technically the Wilton icing color does, I believe, have a tiny amount of sugar in it. And so there's a chance that if you're not dealing with everything that is sterile, that it could become contaminated or ferment or something at some point. So that's just sort of like a caution. I have saved leftover food coloring for longish periods of time without any problem, without it going bad. But in general, there isn't really a reason to make a stock, unless, of course, as I was saying, you're going to do a sweater's worth. So calculate if you want a ½ teaspoon of icing color per 100 grams of yarn. So you're like, okay, I need 5 full tablespoons of color. Dissolve that in, say, I don't know, like a big bowl, and then make like a huge, I guess the final volume doesn't even necessarily matter. Put it, dissolve it all in 8 cups of water, and then aliquot out 2 cups to do, well, I guess, aliquot it out to do in your batches. So if you're going to do like 4 batches, to be proportional. So I don't think I'm making sense. All right, so let's go back, let's say 10 cups of water, because, okay, so say you dissolve your 5 tablespoons of icing color in whatever mixture you want in a total of 10 cups of water. Then to dye your 10 skeins, if you're going to do, say, in batches of 3, you could do 3 cups, and then have a solitary one that's 1 cup. But you can divide the dye from that big stock similarly, if that makes sense. But what the important thing is that you keep track of your concentrations. So I hope that makes. Yeah, but now if it's in terms of color right, which is a little bit more accurate with its drops, not that I've tested the accuracy, I would still be inclined to make a big, if I was going to dye a sweater's worth in multiple batches, I would make a stock as well, however you define it, and then divide it up evenly for batches, just so that way there's even more consistency. So that's how I would do that. And thank you. Okay, I'm going to hop back up. But, as I sing, and I don't sing the branded things that are going in my brain. Okay, so we are definitely warmer now. I'm going to put the heat down on low. And what I'm going to do, I think, I really, really like this. What I'm going to do, oh dear, if I can get my gloves back on, is the edges of the pan are warm but not hot, which is good. I do have water in the back pan, but I'm going to lift and look. Ooh, part of me wants to just remove the yarn and put it back in. But our darkness is less even than it was for night 9 just because of the differences of our technique that we're doing. But what I'm doing now is looking for the lightest and brightest areas and exposing that because the pan is still quite crowded. Still quite crowded. And it's definitely getting warmer. Ooh, that was warm. Probably need to use tongs soon. But again, I think the fact that we're adding the dye with the acid is leading to as much of the variation that we're seeing as that's having as much of an impact as, say, if we, versus just the heat. Let's see. You're pretty good. This is so pretty. I didn't add a ton of black in that last round. And then the edge, I definitely didn't add as much color to our edge last time either. But you can see, like, we've got, okay, it's not 900 grams of yarn here in the pan because some of the yarn is sticking out. But I am dealing with 9 full skeins of yarn. And so, therefore, it is crowded. Even if it was 4.5 skeins, it's still crowded. There is yarn at the surface. So I'm coming, and each time I'm still adding more water with the vinegar. Each time I'm adding more color. So let's add, that's a good splash of black, a small splash of teal. So this is going to be mostly black. But it's going to have some elements of that teal green color in here. And now this water that I'm adding is cool. I'm just sort of adding it all over at this point. But you'll see, like, as we move things, there's still, like, a lot of variation. Okay. I really should be keeping a paper towel over here. I just don't want to contaminate this. So let's see. A nice splash of navy and a nice splash of teal. The navy is, I think, more pigmented than the teal. Okay, so here's how I want to do this. I want to start lowering, which I did not shift how these were after I added it back. Okay. And now I'm not starting at the edge exactly, although I did add a fair amount to the edge. I'm just adding that navy and blue thing across, and even though it is warm, we're now actually really starting to see the ability of things to move, and I am helping it. The goal here is darkness, and there will be variation. It'll be subtle, but just like with night, whatever, the last night of Hanukkah, night 8, Rebecca, just like with that, and I'm, moving this and exposing different areas, but just like with that, as we're doing this, we are going to have, the variation will be easier to see when the yarn is dry. It's a little harder to see when it is wet. But now with my glove, I'm going to start dipping up to that tie that I've added. This is giving us our little bit, and I'm going to do this again with some more color, but this is giving us a little bit of a halo. There's not much color left in there, so I'm going to need to add more color for this, but it's going to give us a little bit. Not a lot. Yeah, there's really not much color there right now. There's a little bit for some of these, but it's just these colors are striking really, really quickly. Okay, the heat is on low. It's not hot, so I can touch it with my hands, but it's not hot. Okay, let's do, I'm running out of water, so I can't really scoop anymore. Hey, Andy. No, honey. Okay, a little bit of teal, a little bit of black. And you can tell when I stop talking as much, I'm going to need to flip things probably. And I'm actually just like pouring, because it's dilute, I'm pouring it on that area where I want that sort of bit of teal. And I'm trying not to touch too much of the yarn. Hey, Indy, I'll come get you in just a minute, okay? So you can have a plan and a vision, and then shift your plan and shift your vision, and that is totally okay. Actually, I'm gonna reserve this color. It's a little more dilute in case I need it for up there. And I am going to want to add some more color, but you can see, see how clear it is? Like I'm moving it now, but there's not very much color down there. Now there is more color down at this end. So I think that is fun. But the reason why when I place those zip ties on, if you go back to the beginning, the reason why I place those on in the middle of the blue section versus at the, I place it on in the middle versus at the very edge is because I knew I wouldn't necessarily get all the way up to it. But let me go help Mr. Indy Fox. I'm having so much fun. I'm having so much fun. I do want to still add more color though. I give it 1 minute for him to start barking. Let me check the chat. Looks like indigo, yes. The goal is something fairly indigo-y, and yeah, he's just started barking. Okay, let me see. Country Classic said that Twilight breaks, it shocked you. Yeah, so a lot of colors that aren't primarily one pigment will probably break, especially with speckling. And then some are a little more complex when it comes to how the dyes dissolve. Some pigments dissolve easier than others, which is why for something like avocado, it can look really teal, and then you get like a more brown rust color towards the end, because those like last, whatever that yellowish pigment is, just takes longer to dissolve. And so I always find that at the end. Good morning. You may dye some unnatural yarns later this week. Nice. I do also hope that I play more with synthetic. I have some other synthetic dyes that I haven't tried iodide poly. I was going to for a lab partner type video, but because my partner requested that I dye some acrylic, but then I was like, oh, the iodide poly recommends more for polyester. And so I was like, I guess I don't want to do something that maybe won't work well for the first time. So I want to try to use that on some polyester, but that's something that is absolutely on my list. But yes, if you ask to join the ChemKnits Lab Facebook group, which is a great way for you guys to share images with each other of your dyeing projects, please put in the questions, please answer the questions. Mainly, I want to see you mention yarn or knitting or something like that. The optional question of how you heard about the group, that's just because I'm curious, because sometimes a lot of people come from another group, and so it's handy for me to know what's going on. But if you haven't answered the questions, then I can't add you because of the group rules that I set up. That's really just to help prevent spam and people who are looking for science groups versus like the science of yarn dyeing. So that's why that question is there, because a lot of people like lab supply or graduate students were looking for it at one point or trying to join. So it's to filter that out. And then the other thing is it has to be your personal Facebook account. It can't, I'm only adding individuals and not pages. So you can't request to join from your business account. Now, I'm in the group as ChemKnits on my page as my business account, but it is my group, so that's why. And there's also no self-promotion, but if someone asks if you have a shop, you can share the link right now is allowed, versus some other hand-dyed groups, you know, no mentioning of your business or even like named colorways. Named colorways and stuff are fine. It's just when you share pictures, make sure you please include the fiber content, the type of dye that you used, and then the general technique. You aren't required to share recipes, but by sharing in the group, you are welcoming questions about the dyeing process. So, you think I achieved dark? Yes. It's still not dark enough. Still not dark enough. No, I didn't set a timer, and the dog is outside. I'm gonna set a timer. Sorry for butt shots, if there is one. Ah! Timer, let's say 5 minutes. Oh, and I'll put the heat back on medium. Yeah, I still want to add some like, okay, maybe I will go back to low. As I've said, the pot is crowded, but the edges aren't that warm yet, so that's good. Okay, I'm gonna get the dog, which means I'm gonna turn off my face. All right. Hey. Oh, that's a good boy. Oh, that's a very good boy. Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Yeah. I know, you're going to go open the pantry, aren't you? That's fine. Well, you're a good boy, but you got a small cookie because you're a little boy. Okay. He's such a good boy. Not really, but oh, he actually came when I called him. In his old age, he's like, I know you called me, because we were wondering if his hearing was going. He's like, I know you called me, but I've been so busy defending the property that I haven't actually used the facilities yet. So, oh my goodness. I love how this is going. I love how this is going. And, okay, side note, I really, really want a haircut. Oh man, not as bad as when my hair was at the like more awkward length for me, so like just below the shoulders, but it is so long and it hasn't been cut since I think November 2019. I'm not quite at the point where I would cut it myself. I think if it gets a lot longer, then I would be comfortable just trying to cut it myself because then it's so long. I mean, I almost could now, but yeah, I'm like, it's also so much lighter just from like being outside. Of course, the color on the camera isn't good, so you can't see how red my hair is, but you can tell, like, yeah, it's just from the sun bleaching it. I've never dyed my hair, which is funny for an indie dyer. I mean, I don't know if other indie dyers dye their hair, but you would imagine that I love playing with color so much that I dye my hair, but I've never done it before. So, thanks. It annoys me. It's harder for me to capture the wave in it too, and so I like being able to get to capture more of it when it's less heavy. But also, I really need to shower. That's right. Ooh, I am a bit loopy. No, it's been fun, but I don't think it's been anywhere near this long since we were all growing out hair for our weddings. So approaching 10 years. I know, I'm feeling so old. Ryder just turned 5. Like, everything is wild. There's 1 minute left on the timer. I was like itching to hop up. And yeah, I would totally follow his tutorial with the where you part it and the ponytails and having it straighten it first, or I forget if he said to do wet or to dry and just have it really, really straight. Whichever way, yeah. I haven't looked at any of his tutorials for kids. I sort of just I cut the kids' hair. I just sort of make it up as I go along. But Keith also has not had a haircut now in a year. He's gone through stages where he's let it grow. Right now it's real long. He's a real rock star right now, a haircut, which it's fun. It's, one of these days he's going to come downstairs and he'll have to just shave his head, and I'll just be like, but I got him his hair. Oh, what character did we say it was more like? He's sort of past Winter Soldier and gone more to. Ooh, what were we just watching? We were watching WandaVision, but that wasn't it. I don't remember what else we watched. But I don't want him to cut it because for his birthday I got him a really cool, it's not a good COVID mask, but I got him a Winter Soldier cosplay mask. So I'm very excited about that. Do you need the link, Michelle? Let me. Oh, where's my chat? There is the link, hopefully. I can see. I don't have the ability to invite myself, or if that makes sense, because yeah, I think I have to be friends with people. I sometimes, even as a moderator, have trouble tagging people, and a lot of times, like, I see things, but then my phone doesn't let me upload pictures. I've just been, I don't know what I need. I need a new phone probably, but we're holding out. Ideally, we can hold out until like Black Friday when they have a 2-for-1 special. Keith and I are now on the same new phone cycle, which is great. Okay, I need to see how we are doing. Okay, moving and checking for, okay, I'm just turning off the heat while I do this. Ooh, that's hot. See, I trust in my abilities to, when it comes to, like, I know what I can handle in terms of hot yarn and stuff like that. And I also know where the hottest pockets are. Hot pockets. Sorry. Oh no. I don't think that they'd come for me for that one. But don't come for me, Hot Pockets. Oh man. It's just like later, like, the stream has been claimed. That's pretty good. Oof. But I like, versus last time I wanted the darkness. I always want semi-solid, but last time I really wanted, I didn't want as much variation as what I'm going for this time, last time. And I mean, I think this one has been fine. Yeah, okay, so I want to add, coming back with that same teal that I had mixed. What is going on with you? Okay, there we go. Which is a light-ish teal, and I'm applying it directly, which, you know, it might not be going through all the way. We've got some resist. That is okay. The goal is for this color to be a bit paler and to reflect on what is going on in here. So I also have a plan, but I figured adding some amount directly would help me achieve, because I wanted that to be a little more teal. Now I am going to get, I think I'm shifting to no more vinegar. Right now, I've used very little black, but I'm coming in with some good black. Now, I've used very little black overall. I've used a lot of the teal and navy that I mixed. It's really hard to know how you're doing when everything is so dark in terms of hitting the colors that you want. And so one thing you might notice is that as I'm pushing up the liquid, I am pushing it a bit onto these edges to help with our little halo. And it's a form of dip dyeing, really. I washed off my hands. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just checking to see the like side against the counter. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat back on. And I don't know if this is gonna be one of those where it's gonna be hard for me to know when I'm done. But even all that black that I just put on, there's a spot. Like, see like how little pigment is in the water? It is just all coming in so quickly because there is a lot of acid in here. Okay, let's do a final good look. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied. But we might find some areas that I'm trying to keep up towards the surface. And this is why I do this. So the more, I guess what I've been learning is that the more crowded your pan is, the more you will need to, oh my. The more crowded your pan is, the more you will need / want to move the yarn to get even color. Okay, let's do, oh, there is still some liquid in my bucket. Oh dear. No drips, no drips, no spilling water. Okay, let's do some teal and black. And the water that I'm adding is cool. If this were roving, I wouldn't want to be doing it this way with this much handling, but we are dealing with a very superwash yarn today. So hopefully you know, there's going to be bits and shifts, and we are going to lower these down. Get it lower and lower. The thing with layering colors, though. Okay. More liquid. Let's do maybe teal. A bit of black. Color is quite navy. maybe poured that a little closer to these edges than I wanted. Actually, that's not a bad thing. Okay. I'm going to give this 10 minutes, and then I will do one more spot check. Because I have a little, well, I have a lot more dye mixed, but I will do one more spot check in here. I mean, it's very dark. Set the timer for 10 minutes. And unfortunately, every once in a while, my hands sweat so much that I can't use them anymore. Or use my hands. I can't use my gloves anymore. But anyway, I have just been pouring, I guess, love and thought, and I know visually the darkness probably doesn't seem like it's changing that much as we go, but just little by little, I would say that maybe I've done around 10 grams of dye total, as in a combination between black, teal, and navy. So let me see. I'm good. I'm glad that helped. I'll check after. I wonder, to be sure the dark dye makes it all the way to the speckled section, would there have been an advantage to do this process first and then laying out the 2/3 dyed as skeins of speckles? That could work, but I think that I like in general to go from bright to dark. Now, there is a video that will be coming up sometime next month where I actually do the dark first and then add the bright, because I wanted to, I didn't want to feel like with that color, what, oh my God, I've got, I just have like a little line of dye right there. Oh dear. I want to clean up some liquid from the floor. I didn't want to feel as though I, not dye, thankfully, just water. But I need to figure things out for next time. So funny. So in that video, I wanted to just emotionally, with the color, the results would have been the same either way I started, but I didn't want to feel like I was dampening a bright. I wanted to feel like I was brightening up a dark. And so or a more muted color. So sometimes that's why I might decide on an order. But in terms of this, I think you could definitely try to do the darkness first and then have white left, and then over dye that. But I think that given that I was playing around with the amount of area and the technique for the bright, doing that first meant, because there's one of these that is the one that was like the way I decided not to do it, but I still am adding darkness to it. But yeah, it's just, it made me also realize, I'm like, ooh, I love this. I want to do more versus the other way. So that's why I can decide that. Yes, it's clearing not because of the heat, it's because of the amount of acid that's in there. I think, I mean, it's a huge bucket. I forget if I did like 5 or 6 tablespoons of white vinegar, but that's not that much vinegar given the amount of yarn that we have there. It's just, yeah, with a little bit of heat. Like, some colors do take longer to strike, but what I've really realized, and I think some videos, there's definitely, I did it with the super saturated one, and I forget if I flipped in that video, but realizing that waiting, and I don't remember if I waited to add acid in that one, but realizing that waiting to add acid really, really helps the dye move through, because when you have your wet yarn and you add the dye, if there's acid in there already, then it'll probably start striking, especially if it's superwash. Because it's less of an issue for non-superwash yarn, or maybe even like a silk blend where things might strike slower overall. But yeah, so I think that having, if you want, realizing, and especially as I have a video coming up. Oh no, did the rainbow hand painting one already come out? I think, no, that one's already come out. Okay, so in that video, I added the colors on with no acid, and they went all the way through, and I didn't have to flip a million times and add more color. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. So it depends. And if you have colors that are prone to spreading, then maybe you do want acid there. So I think that little by little, as I play with some colors over and over, I learn more about how they behave and strike. And so then that makes it easier to anticipate what they're going to do and make plans for how they're going to do things. I am really excited. Thank you. I really like the color as well. And I think I'm feeling real good about the inspiration photo. I have no idea. There's a big chance that I'll come out and be like, man, I wish the colors were darker. And so that's why I was like, I hit a point where I'm like, I think I'm good, but no, I'm going to add more dye because that's something that I've realized. Like, I think it was the leaf inspiration one where I was really happy with the colors, so I stopped and didn't push too far. And then I was like, I wish the colors were a bit more intense. I wish I had them darker. And so then I did it again and got to the point where I was like, this is the color I want. And I was like, okay, I need to add more so that way when it dries, it looks that way. And I would say that this is especially true with silk blends. When you're dyeing silk, it will look a lot darker when wet. And then when it's dry, it will, the difference between wet and dry will be way more obvious. There was a dye pot PS where I did a bunch of silk stuff all side by side, and then at the end you can see the color difference. They had the same amount of dye, I mean, approximately added to all of them, but I think it's almost as though silk is a bit transparent, or at least like a little bit translucent when it is wet, and then when it's dry, it's a bit more opaque. And so there can still be like a lot of color in there, but you might not see all of it, is the way it sort of feels. So I think that you need, in general with silks, a lot more dye to achieve a similar kind of color. So those are things I've learned. But yeah, this is a very like slow stream, even though like I've been doing a lot to this yarn. Because how long have I been on live? Like almost 2 hours that we've been working on this, and so it's making me glad that I did part 1 already. And oh, some people have just tuned in, so what we can do while I'm waiting for the timer is I can play the part 1 video again. Where? I don't see it though. Oh, because I need to. Nope, I don't want you to go yet. Okay, I have to move it back behind. There it was. Oh no, it's playing. Okay, well, all right. So going back, these were the colors. I didn't end up using, oh, you can't see my mouse, blued steel, but I did, for the bright section, I did mix the colors in with citric acid, and then I don't need to, okay, that's the one that I skipped, which was really pretty when I layered all the dyes on top of each other, but that's ultimately not the one that I used, and I inserted the white in so that way I could give myself, okay, I'm learning how to pause when I'm playing a video during my stream. These clips that I'm showing right now, I will include in the recap, so you guys can see it, and with the film, either like voiceover or real-time audio as I'm doing it, to share that there. And then, you know, this part I'm not filming when I'm doing in the live stream, but I'll reference it. But so this was the way that I did the brights section for the inspiration photo. So, but yeah, I think you could definitely do speckles after. I've dyed I've done some resist dyeing, I think, at some point where I dyed the background first and then I went in and placed where I wanted the brights to be based on where the white was. So I think in that kind of way, and if maybe if I was going to do Aurora Borealis again, I might do that. I might do the sky and then add the brightness so that way I can get that punch the way I want. But this way is fun too. And I'm going to reduce the heat as I'm just letting this play. And I did different length sections of the orange part. Fluorescent safety orange is a really awesome color because it does break. Okay, I'll be back up there in a sec. The video ended. It does break. There definitely are some pink specks in there, but also with oranges and with, come back to my face. No, that's not what I wanted to move. With oranges and with yellows, a very pale orange will look yellow, and a very, very intense yellow will start to look orange with those kinds of pigments. So it's I don't think it's necessarily like the big difference. Some of it is a saturation difference, but I do believe that there is some amount of breaking, although I haven't dip dyed it to it. So I haven't tried that way. But dip dyeing to break acid dyes only works really well when there is one pigment that does strike really, really fast and one that doesn't. A lot of times, even if there's breaking with speckling and you might see breaking with hand painting, it can be harder to capture with dip dyeing. But that's something that I feel like, oh yeah, I'll be discussing that in a video that's coming up. It's like, I feel like this week I've been talking about this. It's something I've been feeling, so let me see. Oh, cool. Yes, I am live right now. I'm not sure for how much longer. We're almost done. But, oh, yes, I need to pay attention to time so I can pick up children from school. Yay, hybrid. Yeah, it's funny. This colorway that I did for Hanukkah, which the one I'm doing today is different. It's like this with many more colors, and I've probably overcomplicated it. But I got a lot of requests for full skeins of this, which I don't know if that's something that I'm going to do, but I did at the time know that I was going to do this, which was a similar technique. And so that's why I dyed more, so that way there could be more available. And so I don't know if, like, I'm playing around with doing some colorways in larger batches, mainly because I want to explore that technique-wise and see about consistency. But yeah, so that's something that I am playing with. But stay tuned for a shelf update coming up soon, because certainly I will be releasing more lab partner slots. But yeah. But yeah, there's also some other fun stuff coming. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this. I'm so glad there's so many of you here. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe. This one is a lot more sit and wait type dialogue versus active involved, which is why I'm glad I had that video clip that I could share. But I think that it's also more of just what I needed. I didn't want to, so my grandfather died at the beginning of the month, and so I've, just been giving myself time. And I'm not going to go all into that. I have a video that I filmed that I don't know if I'll keep the audio, but I sort of just went into what the complexities of what I've been feeling and talked a little bit about how dyeing and filming can be cathartic for me. And so I don't know. I haven't really listened to the audio. I don't know if I'll be keeping that in, but I'm probably going to start editing that video later this afternoon. So I'm not wanting to be like coy and be like, ooh, stuff's going on. Like the rest of us are all healthy. And so I have a lot to be thankful for. It's just been like something that would be hard under normal times is extra hard now. And then January has been a month. We had a COVID exposure scare. And so that was, but it ended up like everyone is negative, and so, and we weren't actually exposed. The luck had it happened over a long weekend, so therefore Anyway, we thought that maybe one of the children was exposed and took precautions in case they were, but then they ended up not being exposed. So that was good, but stressful, and showed how my kids are rock stars at keeping away from each other. So that was hard, but they it was new. Yeah, it was, yes, a lot. It's just been a hard month. But one thing that I have realized as I started getting back into some filming again is how mood elevating dyeing yarn is for me. And even this morning, I was exhausted this morning and unsure, how there's some ways I could have gone about this. And I was like, there's ways that I could go and I could quickly add the colors and then be done, or I can go and add more and more and do this whole thing that we're doing today, because I love dyeing yarn and it is my happy place. And so tapping into that when otherwise I might be struggling with like having some mental health struggles in recent times, being able to have something that is a creative outlet really does help me heal. It helps me heal, and it helps me just having a place that is uncomplicated and undramatic, as my stove just went, but it's undramatic. That is so helpful for my mental health to have that realizing that as much as I both needed to give myself space and time, but also having this ability to tap into this creative outlet is just also so helpful. So that's all that's going on. And so doing something that was both slow, so it gave me the ability that I was like, okay, I'm starting to overload emotionally and I want to not be live. Having that ability made me feel more like, okay, I can do it. And so that's why this live stream that I had originally wanted to do maybe around January 10th or so. Originally I thought I was going to do it jump back in as soon as the kids had school again. I was like, okay, I'm going to plan and jump back in. And I was just like, I'm a mess. So, let's see. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. So I'm reading the chat again. Hugs. Kenyatta and Gretchen, huge, safe, socially distant hugs. Okay. Yes, Beth. Sorry for screaming. I will go get it. I don't know how much is here, but I have the box over, and so let me do a final check on the yarn as I don't, as I add a modesty filter. So it's hard to know how many spoons I'll have left, and it's hard to know, and for me to predict how much streaming can take from me, but I knew that I was not up for streaming with, that's just light reflecting. I knew I wasn't up for streaming with a mask on. So out of practice, some of the times wearing the mask and doing a little bit of talking, I was like, whoo, It's more work. I'm tired. The P100 respirator mask that I wear. So I'm now being, haha, there's one spot there. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I should get my tongs. It's funny, as a redhead, I have a genetic disposition to have a low tolerance for pain, but for somehow I can deal with like yarn. Okay, so I know the problem is that the handedness of this is backwards for me. Because since I'm right, okay, that's a spot. That's a spot. I don't want to tangle things. I guess I should pick it out all the way. Aha! There's a spot. Having some spots of non-darkness isn't a problem for this colorway. I just am checking for larger sections where I know I might wish that there was more color. Like right there. The end one is, oh no, there's a section there. I want you to have some more. Ooh, hot. But again, this picture does have areas of light and dark, so it's not like a bad thing. But I just wanted to give myself one final. And I've got leftover dye. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It'll probably be a separate video just because of everything going on. There's a lot of acid in here. I mean, I just added more dye and the dye bath is pretty clear. Oh, what do I want? Things are striking quickly because I added a lot of acid as we went, but I'm going to leave this, I think, for 20 minutes. On medium-ish heat. So, okay, maybe I'll do 10 minutes. No, I'll do 15 minutes. And then I'm going to lower these edges back in a little bit more. And then do some more time. And I need my box cutter. Always be careful with a box cutter when you're opening up yarn. Just FYI. So let me see. January's been a total write-off for me. Yes. Oh, you can't shake the fever. Oh no. Huge, huge hugs. Huge hugs. Now, a hard thing, I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac in general, and someone with like chronic allergies, and like it's hard, but I'm always like, the way I feel when I wake up, let's let the allergy medicine kick in. But anyway, this is an order from Woolry, and they didn't have everything that I ordered, but so we'll see what there is. Okay. How big are these skeins? No way that's 100 grams. Maybe it is. Cotton is denser. Could be. Okay, so this is Dye-licious cotton, and oh my gosh, this is the 10/2, which there's no way. I tried looking that up. That's definitely like lace weight. But they had some in skeins. This is a cotton that has been treated so you can use acid dyes and food coloring. I don't have information. I'm assuming there's some kind of like of coat. You have to wash it first with soap before you do it, but it's been coated with something. You're supposed to be able to use food coloring. So I have this. Okay, so I have this in the 10/2, and then which is like lace weight. I got a cone of the 5/2. I don't know. These are weaving terms, so this is a pound. And this is more like a fingering weight, but I will probably first do some samples of this. I got, okay, so I also got some, they didn't have a good dupe for the size, but I got some other cotton from them, which I believe that the mercerized, is that how you say it? Cotton may be coated, and so it might be harder to dye anyway, but this is a bleached cotton. And I have some sugar and cream. So we'll try a few different things for that experiment. And then I also got, because why not, I got some organic cotton sliver, which I guess is what it's called versus roving. And then I've got some, the treated for dyeing, which I believe that this one, which has something like a pigment that rinses out or something, I believe that that one may also work with acid dyes. So I'll have to double check exactly what I ordered. But yeah, so we'll see. I haven't read a lot about, read into what the Dyelicious process is, but someone, and I'm blanking on who at the moment, shared this in ChemKnits Lab. And so then I went and I bought some because, you know, it's, I wish it were like a thicker cotton, but yeah, there were cones, and I think there's ones that are even thinner than the ones I got, which I mean, I've dyed like crochet cotton before, but I don't think, I mean, these are starting to approach that thread type territory. You've dyed the mercerized cotton with RIT? Okay, good to know. Good to know. So what I don't know about this is if this Dyelicious, because there are people with wool allergies, which I think has a lot to do with the oils, but I don't know what the treatment process is of it. I certainly don't know how environmental friendly that treatment is. So I can't speak to that. I have no idea if this still classifies as 100% cotton. Okay, so this is a blend. This says it's 50% organic cotton, 50% Dyelicious cotton. So whatever that is. So maybe that's what I'll have to put on the labels. I mean, I don't know if I have, if I'm allowed to use like a trademark name like that, but yeah, we'll try it out. So that's a video that I'm not sure where I'm going to film, but that was something that felt like a fun thing to unbox and share. Yeah, so I'm hoping to test it out soon. It depends on I have a lot of editing that I need to do today and tomorrow. So depending on how that goes, then maybe this weekend I'll get to dye it. But I would say that for Dye Pop Weekly things, I believe I'm working on March right now in terms of episodes. So that might be when that comes out. But maybe, who knows? So I guess the things that I'm debating now is that I should do this for Dye Pop PS for February. Oh no, but I already had people vote, so it wouldn't be for February. I will probably do a Dye Pop PS behind the scenes thing. So if you are a ChemKnits patron over on Patreon, and I believe that there's 2 levels to get access to it. I'll try to give patrons early access to that. But all content I ever film, I then try to put like all the videos like not behind the paywall. So it's just an early access or a sneak peek over there. But yeah, this is something that I definitely want to do. So hello. So you think that the allergy to wool is an issue with oils? Your friend has allergies to wool, but is fine with alpaca. Yeah, so some can be with various fibers. Like I feel like with I feel like I have sensitivity to mohair, and I'm not sure what that is. But there have been times when then I'm like, I feel a little like more like I'm getting congested, but it's mild, but it's just weird. But yeah, so I'm effective. So the mercerized refers to a specific process that makes the cotton fiber stronger, more sturdy. It doesn't affect how it dyes. Okay, because I think I heard at one point that it might be harder to dye because I believe that it's coated with the process that makes it stronger and shinier and less like pillable, I believe. I think that that makes it harder for dyes to penetrate. But harder doesn't mean impossible. So, yeah, but so we'll give it a shot. But I was hoping, because just sugar and cream is not like a good dupe, but I was trying to find something as close to from Woolery as I could. And then also, I think I hit a point when I was like, oh, I could pay like a lot for shipping, or I could buy not very much more and then get free shipping. But they didn't, although then I feel bad because they didn't have, forget how many skeins I ordered, but they were very, very kind actually, because they had an inventory mix up and they were short. So they're going to send, I guess I'm just missing one that they're going to send later on. But so they told me, and like gave me an option to like cancel. And so like that was very, very kind. Oh, thank you. I don't know French, Sophie, but I can understand that. I think that it means like thank you for your videos and that I am super. So thank you. So I cannot speak French at all, but I don't think I can even say that I can speak Spanish. I can speak broken Spanish. I used to be approaching fluent, and if I had been able to go and live in like a Spanish-speaking country for a while, then I think that might have been able to tip me over the edge. But I can read a lot of French because of similarities, but I cannot pronounce any of it. But yeah, I have lost almost all good grammar for my Spanish attempts. But I can, like I'm very out of practice. But thank you so much. Thank you. But a lot of times, if I do try, sometimes I get questions in Spanish, and so I will reply in Spanish. If with other languages, I will run things through like Google Translate and then reply in English. Yeah, so that was fun. Mercerized cotton does tend to be very tightly spun, and so that might affect how you handle it in a dye bath. Well, your English is good in the chat. But yeah, I understand. I understand that sentiment. So yeah, I can't understand spoken French at all. When Keith and I went, we spent I think like 36 hours in Paris once, and when we were there, I was like, oh goody, menus! I can handle this. He took French in high school, and it was. Keith's brother lives in London, and so we hopped over for a night to just because at the time I had never been to mainland Europe. So back when, oh my gosh, you could decide and be fairly spontaneous and travel. Oh man. But yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. So I think my plan is just to then I'm going to lower the skeins into the back a little more and heat for a bit. But yeah, and then the recap for this will be out in mid-February, mid to late February. I might give, if you feel free to let me know on the Facebook thread if you are dyeing yarn that you're for this, that you're intending to share. Because I think I didn't do my live stream for a while, there has been a submission, but not as many submissions as usual. And it's been a longer time period. So let me know, and I will shift like when I pull and release. But certainly, I don't think that the recap will be out before the 15th of February. So yeah, that's my plan. But anyway, the way to submit your pictures, which I should remind everyone, even though I know there's a lot of you that have been featured in many of these, and it's so fun. I enjoy getting to feature people. So you can share the pictures of the yarn that you've dyed inspired by this same photo on Instagram with the hashtag ChemKnitsDyeAlong, or you can look for this photo, which is still pinned on my Facebook page. I believe I even linked to it directly down in the description, if I've updated that correctly. And you can reply there with a photo comment, and then I will pull as many pictures as I can to include in the recap, because I think that it's really, really fun to see how many of us can look at something, at one image, and then many similarities and differences between the colors that we create. And I talked about this in the last recap, that I specifically invite you all to copy my recipes and copy my colorways and give it a shot at home. That is part of my, like, I give permission, but it's just like a reminder that when you want to draw inspiration for the colorways you create, it's not ethical to necessarily go to someone else's yarn and use that as your inspiration. There's no doubt that you can go and be inspired by, like, ooh, I want to try to get that kind of heavy speckles technique. That kind of thing is totally fine, but it's not like ethical to go and see someone else's yarn and then, like, in a shop who's not a teacher who's not inviting you to try your own version of it, to go and be like, okay, I want to dupe that. And so that's where it can be like a little hard. Now, granted, like, when you're dealing with a tonal versus variegated, there's levels to this. But one of the things that I do want to show by sharing these photos is that two people can come up with a colorway that is very similar independently. And that doesn't mean that one person copied another. And so, like, the times to be concerned is when, like, all of a sudden someone has all of the exact same things as another shop. That would be a concern. So I'm not calling anyone out or anything like that. I think it's just a reminder that since I invite you guys to copy what I do, that doesn't necessarily mean that other dyers do as well. And so that's just something to keep in mind. So, I mean, no one can copyright a colorway. I mean, you can trademark a name, I suppose, but the colorways themselves aren't copyrightable. But I would say that in whatever you're doing, try to make it your own. But of course, like, dip dyeing into, like, just because someone has played with a rainbow doesn't mean you can't play with a rainbow. So, there's some kinds of things where it's like, okay, a lot of people might have this version of something, but if someone does something does a rainbow in a specific, unique way, maybe try to find your own way to do it. So, I'm glad to keep company while knitting. So yeah, that's just my little spiel. Because yeah, there've been a few, like, yeah, I think I see this happen a lot in, like, the makeup community, where people are like, oh, people need to, like, give credit, and I try very hard to share, to draw inspiration from things that are, I look at colors, but then I also draw techniques from the pictures. And so I guess that's the goal of this, is not only to just challenge myself to play with colors in a different way that I might not normally just pick, but also just to show the similarities and differences that we can all come up with, and how, you know, if I think playing with the same 3 colors, I might be able to come up with dozens of colorways with those colors. But if I was going to do that with 3 colors, and then you were going to do that with 3 colors, I'm sure we'd have some overlap in there. So I think it would be a gray area, certainly, when you are going to, if you're going to try to copy someone's yarn for your own use. And so I would say that, you know, I think that my position on this as a shop owner is probably different than what your position would need to be as an individual knitter slash dyer and hobbyist. I would say that if you're someone who has a shop, then I would definitely avoid trying to copy someone else's color. I think that if you, I mean, it's a hard thing because of cost and like, I think that what I'm allowed to, I think that it's never, I think that if you're doing something for your own use, even if you're going to copy a famous painting, let me shift to another thing, so that way what I say doesn't get taken out of context. If, you know, there is a painting you really love and you want to create your own version of it and hang it on the wall, there is nothing unethical about using that for your own personal use. Certainly, you know, and it's harder with imagery, certainly you would not be able to then go and sell a dupe of someone else's work. So like Van Gogh's sunflowers, if I were to go and make a really bad copy of Van Gogh's sunflowers, there would be copyright gray area of me selling something like that. But if I were to go and get sunflowers, or look at pictures of sunflowers and make my own painting of sunflowers that was different, but that therefore wouldn't be a, like, there's no like claim there because it's like doing your own version, if that makes sense. And so I think that there's a lot of gray area and things being done for personal use, especially like, for example, like I wouldn't ever be able to sell anything Disney because you need to have license for that. But I make myself all kinds of Disney fan stuff over and over. Like I make myself ears and shirts and use things that are like images that I want to never have a license to sell, but I do for personal use. So I think that hopefully you can understand what I'm saying, that things for personal use, like, you know, you're not profiting off of someone else's labor. But if you are, you know, but I would also say that if you enjoy and have the means to support other dyers, especially if they have something that you love, and I'm not talking about myself, and just in general, I would say go and support the dyer because of the like amount of work and stuff that goes in. But I know that there's also a point. So I hope that this makes sense. Rushia, so I hope that that helps. But of course, I invite everyone to copy me. So, it's a gray area, and I would say that a lot of dyers probably wouldn't mind if someone, like, you know, a lot of times if you, like, I wouldn't go to someone's booth and then like open up their yarn and photograph it because I'm like, oh, I want to go make it myself, and I know that's not what you're suggesting or anyone's suggesting. So there's always like that gray, it's a gray area in there. But I think as someone who I know a lot of people watching me are starting out with their own shops, and it's really at some point, you know, people tip from like, okay, hobby dyeing to, okay, I want to start selling. That's why I recommend that if you see like, you know, you might see a color combination that you really love, and play with that color combination, but do it in your own way. So I hope that makes sense. And as Molly said, it is almost impossible to repeat a colorway when the yarn is dyed in the exact same dye bath. Copying a recipe to achieve a certain color is, yes. Exactly. I mean, it's hard to do, but it's just I think that it's it's definitely I just seeing like I've seen people, and again, I'm not calling anyone out, but I've seen cases where people have made I've seen examples of blatant copying where a name is unique, super unique, and someone copies it, and it's trying to get sales off of someone else's experience. I've seen examples of people invite people to copy colorways to raise money for charity. I've seen people be suspicious about other shops having lots of colorways that are similar with similar names. And I've seen examples of, and a lot of times, like when people raise this, there are times when things may have been blatant, but there's times when a lot of people are like, there's only so many color combinations out there. And if you have a name that is the one like unicorn farts or pumpkin spice lattes, like there's bound to be a lot of yarn with those names. But, there could be things, so it's hard because you get like an emotional attachment to a colorway a lot of times, especially if it's one people repeat a lot. But yeah, I would say that like that whenever you're doing, try to make it your own. Yeah, so I would always be very, very careful with naming things. And so when I was talking about the Disney stuff, I was talking about like, here, I'll show. So I made these. I was inspired by something on Pinterest, and then I went and I got my own versions of the images. But like, I own no rights to any of these images. But I happened to go get all of them, the images I wanted, and put them into the shape of the Mickey ears myself. But like, I wouldn't ever be able to sell this because I don't own the rights to any of these images. But I made something for personal use. And so I think that was like my comfort level. But I will say that certain big film studios are notorious for coming through and giving takedown notices to people using trademarked names and stuff like that. So, so I just recommend being careful with descriptions that are used. Now, there's some names and things that are in the public domain that are like absolutely fair use, but I just recommend just having caution because the mouse is litigious from what I've heard. Yeah, just sometimes there's Etsy sweeps and lots of people get taken down. Yep. So there have been yarn dyers that have had cease and desist for creating colorways inspired by specific. Now, I still encourage you all to dye yarn inspired by TV characters, but be creative with the names that you pick. And so for like TV shows, like the name of a show is probably trademarked, and they license that mark. So like we'll say Disney again, they license the mark, and people pay them money to be able to use the name Disney on products, and it means that Disney then approves whatever you've created, and there's back and forth there. And so therefore, because people pay them a lot of money for that, they therefore protect that license because they don't want people to, yeah. So it's a hard, it's complicated and beyond my, a lot beyond my pay grade. But so I just recommend being very, very, very careful. Yeah, just for example, what is it? Who owns onesie? You will get taken down on Etsy if you use the term onesie, even though it's now like Kleenex or Xerox, where it feels like a generic name, but onesie is a trademark name for whoever makes it. So unless you're using a actual onesie bodysuit, Otherwise, you need to say snap bodysuit, even though people use the name onesie for all of those snap one-piece outfits. I missed the guar gum question. Can you add guar gum and vinegar to a stock solution to give you more definite lines with hand painting? Yes, Julia, I have some guar gum videos where I do add exactly that. Yes, so there's, I mean, it's hard, and I think that like when it's clearly like a colorway inspired by something, like that's fan art, and it's hard. So I'm not putting a value judgment on that of the litigious mouse, but it's more of that's perfect. That's perfect. Yes, I think that calling something where like a huge fan might then like, yeah, because it's I don't want to put like my ethical thoughts on the litigiousness of some of this, but I can somewhat understand the brand protection that people are doing and being like, but yeah, it's hard because I mean when I started, I like making Disney ears for when we go on trips, and when I started doing that, it's like, ooh, this is fun. Should I do this? And then it's like there's tons of Disney mouse ears that you can find on Etsy, but I think every once in a while they do go through and just do a sweep and shut people down but what's hard is people see other people doing it, so therefore think they can do it, and then it's hard. But it's with knitting, you can't copyright clothing in the same kind of way. You can copyright an image, you can copyright your instructions, but it makes like just complicated. But so anyway, there's no legal ramification. Long tangent. There's no legal ramification for seeing for seeing my yarn and going and copying it. Of course, I invite copying, so I'm just using myself as the example. But if you dip dye yarn into black, like I'm sure thousands of dyers have done that and created something like that. So the long and short is that you dye what makes you happy when it comes to yarn, but if you're ever considering like selling it and setting up a business, really try to draw your inspiration from something that is not someone else's yarn. Yes. Yes, there's always an at your own risk. But yeah, I was when I saw it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, anyway, hopefully none of this gets me into trouble. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything like controversial, but I don't want any of you who have asked questions or anything to feel like I'm calling you out or criticizing what you're doing. I'm speaking from like my own experience and things. Yeah, sorry about the dog and things like that. And I think I forgot to do what I said I was going to do to the yarn. That's okay. Yeah, I just with the dye-alongs, it's just, I think it's helpful to see two people come up with something really, really similar that, they were just looking at the photo versus looking at each other's yarn. Because for all I say, like, hey, draw your inspiration from not someone else's yarn, but you might come up with the exact same yarn as someone else, and that's okay. I think that sometimes there's blatant cases of copying, so I don't want to discount that. But I think that when people are it's also possible. If someone has 10 listings in their shop, it's unlikely that all 10 of them, match colorways that you created. It might be a copy, but if someone has 30 colorways in their shop and there's like 4 that feel similar and have similar names to yours, think about what name you did and like and how common or unexpected the color combination might be, because it is possible Dharma has 80 colors, but it is possible for people to come up with things that are really similar. And I've never been accused of copying, or I've never accused anyone of copying me or anything like that. This is just from stuff I've seen. Oh goodness, how does true turquoise compare to Caribbean blue? They're really similar. And I don't think I have a good answer. I might have a swatch. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, let's add an image. See if I can find it. Would it be in documents then? Color swatches. Here we go. Oh, that's huge. Oh no. Transform. Fit to screen. There we go. Okay, so true turquoise and Caribbean blue and bright aqua and sapphire blue. That's just super crude swatches, but since I knew I had that image handy, I thought that I would go ahead and just pull that up. So hope that helped. Yeah, I got to get moving too. But thank you all so much for joining and listening to my colorway spiel. I think that the long. Oh, Suzanne, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Suzanne. I think that my personal standpoint is things and crafts that you create as fans and stuff in your own home for your own use. Do what you're gonna do. But I think that if there is a small business that you can support, and you have the financial ability to support them, then sometimes it's worth supporting them versus, so that's something that, not that I need more yarn, but I'm I need more dyers to come out with other stuff I can do to support people that I appreciate. But I think Lola Bean Yarn recently, or at some point, said that knitting with, which I realized oh, I should try this more this year. Knitting with the yarn that you've dyed is like eating a really good home cooked meal. Knitting with another dyer's yarn is like going out to a fancy restaurant. And I thought that was a really, really nice way to put it. A really nice way. So anyway, I hope that these, for all of you that stayed through my musings over the ethics and stuff, because I realized that since I share things and I invite people to copy, I just also want to put out there that not, in the group, I won't reverse engineer someone else's yarn. There was a time when maybe I would have, and then I realized I was I think that, so I just realized that these things are worth sharing. Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. That's really sweet. I appreciate it. So she's amazing. She's amazing. The amount of yarn she can dye in. Well, now I know she's got more space. But just as in a garage, her colorways are that would be goals, to have that level of artistry and consistency. I'm just amazed. So anyway, I am going to head out. know I said I was going to do that a bit ago, but I'm going to head out. I really appreciate all of you and for the safe space that you give me. And I hope that, thank you for hanging out. Thank you so much for hanging out. And yeah, so subscribe, like, dye some yarn and share. Even if it's not very many people submit this month, that's fine. I will still recap and I'll feature the one who has. So I think that it is just fun for so many reasons. So anyway, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And my stomach is now grumbling. So I'm going to head out and I will chat with all of you soon. Bye. And then I wait because I want to always make sure that the stream finishes my goodbye before I stop streaming. So thank you all so much.